edition of the Witsup podcast. It is fantastic to see all of your friendly faces. Welcome back to another edition of the Witsup podcast. It is fantastic to see all of your friendly faces. Today I am speaking with Alicia Kaye, and I'm going to be honest, this may just be one of my favourite episodes ever. It was like catching up with an old mate. It was catching up with an old mate, but the conversation goes on so many directions that I never anticipated it going on. But I don't know, maybe the planets aligning, or the universe was speaking to us. I don't know. I feel like I needed to have that conversation at that particular time. But also, Alicia gives me the feedback as well that she felt like this conversation was quite cathartic for her as well. So it was perfect timing. The planets definitely aligned. And so much of what she spoke about resonated with me, and so much of her approach to things really resonated with me as well. In particular, and with this particular topic, it actually triggered me to go and do something about it, because it's something that I stick my head in the sand about always, forever, have always done that. And that's around the topic was actually sort of twofold. And I actually spoke about this on my personal social media platform that I've been doing it's called a financial adulting course. And I'm just trying to learn to be better with money, or understand my money story and all these other bits and pieces. And I posted about it the other day, and I'm making progress. And for me, it's huge, because I don't like money. I don't like talking about it. It feels icky. It's awkward. I hate it. But when you're running your own business, you should probably figure that shit out. But also when you have a young family, you should probably sort that shit out as well. But it turns out so many people commenting, either publicly or private messages, are in the same boat as me, or have been, and are trying to figure out their own shit as well. So anyway, there's that. But then back to this particular discussion, Alicia talked about the very sad and unfortunate passing of her mother just before COVID hit, so end of 2019. I think we'll go to the actual episode and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But she talks about just the importance of that stage in life when parents pass away, or even yourself, and making sure that you have certain things set in place so that when it comes to that time, and it happens to us all, obviously, and it feels a bit icky talking about it. It feels not icky. That's not even the right word. It just feels really awkward talking about it. It's not a nice subject, but having your estate in order, your will, your power of attorney, all those things organised before it comes time, your time is up. And we discussed that in quite a bit of depth, and it really triggered something for me. And it's especially since having Frankie, but not just because I have a kid, but we really need to sort that part of our lives out as well. And I feel like for us, it's something that we definitely stick our head in the sand about, not just me, Brett as well, but definitely me, because it is awkward. But I'd hate, for something to happen to one of us and we wouldn't have these things set in place, and then what happens? And it's a really scary thought, and like I say, awkward. But so for those of you who are just tuning in now to a triathlon podcast, this is very, very left field, but I think it's important. And the more I sort of discuss it with the people, the more I find that I'm not alone in these feelings, and maybe Witsup's an opportunity. We've got a platform to be able to discuss these things in a safe environment. So maybe I'll start doing that. But anyway, reached out to a financial planner, financial planner. I think that's what he's actually, here we go. Yes, he's a financial planner. He's a triathlete. I've known him for years. And I had a bit of a chat with him, and then Brett and I caught up with him the other night, and we went through all these kind of things. And you can't, it's almost a little bit of a psych appointment as well, because he's asking you some pretty not intimate but very personal questions, and it definitely feels awkward, but again, he didn't make me feel awkward. It's the subject matter that makes me feel a bit awkward. But I really understand the importance of getting that kind of stuff sorted. So anyway, I feel better for having the conversation, knowing that we're starting to put things in place for the future and figure a few things out. And so that was, I believe that was my Monday night. So top that. Anyway, there's my ramble for the week. I really hope you enjoy my chat with Alicia Kaye. That is Kaye, not Keys. And I will speak to you, well, in a few seconds.
Completely forgot to put that in my account, in my email, or my calendar. Oh yeah. Are we allowed to swear?
Oh, mate. Swearing is my jam. So also, by the way, I am actually recording just because I always hit record straight away. So, yeah. But anyway, we haven't officially started, but we can potentially leave this in. But anyway, sorry.
I had forgotten to put it in my calendar. Clearly and so I had booked an appointment with the bank, and in the end it was like a shit show because literally the bank, Scotiabank, has acted like my mom is the first person to die ever. Like it's just been awful, but luckily it is over. Yeah. And her estate's completely settled. And it was strange though. The day I did it was like literally 2 days after Katie's dad passed. Katie's a Ferris, and it was just like, she's a very close friend. And so like the last week's been a bit weird. So just because I just so like was thinking about my mom a lot, and then it's like, and they had such a beautiful relationship. And so I've just been thinking about them a lot. Like we've known Tommy since he did his first triathlon, and I met Katie when she was an age group athlete, and the fact that the two of them got married is just weird for me because they were my friends before they had known each other. So
yeah, right. Yeah. Oh good. Yeah, I sent her a message the other day. Because anytime I've talked to her, especially over COVID times when she's been at her parents' house, they've been involved in the background, and you could just tell that their relationship was so close. And oh gosh, just it's so sad.
Yeah, and it's I just find it like it's weird. In the past few years, there's been some like passing of like parents of professional female athletes, and it's been like Jody had hers, I had mine, which was the catalyst for me retiring. But then also Rachel Clommer lost her mom really quickly. Like it was just a strange, I think, like last calendar year, like of just, it's hard. It's very like, for me, that was it. But it's, I've been so, and then watching Jody like being at the finish line when she crossed, and I was just like, gah, get your shit together, Alicia, for this interview, because I was doing the finish line interview.
Oh, mate.
It was really just kind of like very emotionally heavy, and I've trained with Rachel, so I know Rachel well. So it's just like, what the heck is going on? Like 2020 and mine was 2019, but theirs with Rachel and Jody was 2020, and it's just crazy. And now poor Katie. So I just feel for them. Oh, it's tough to go on. It's very tough to go on. So
yeah. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's just a reality of I think racing. Like the fact that Jody got back on form, I think, is just so impressive. Like Rachel was able to do it within a few months, and it's just like a part of every athlete's story. Like that's it's like it's a sad part, but it's a part of overcoming, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to say teaching, but maybe. I can't think of another word, but almost teaching you something else about yourself, that you find something else within yourself, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And almost, I guess, maybe even relying on triathlon as well, because it's kind of something that you can control to a point, it's, For
me, triathlon was such a gift in the final stages of like my mom's illness, because my dad was sick too. And so, but I could train anywhere. So I would just go back to Canada for like weeks at a time. In 2018, I was spending almost half the year in Canada, just going back to be with my mom during different phases of chemo, and also going to see my dad, who was in the same town, but in a long-term care facility. And it was just like so nice, because if I had a normal human job, I just would have been out of work. So the ability to go back and forth was really, really a blessing, and let me be there for my mom and be a caregiver to her and things like that. So I was grateful for it, but it was just like a switch for me.
Yeah,
It was
right.
just like she passed, and it was like, I joke that it was like, if you've ever seen The Price is Right, the American game show, there's a really famous game called Plinko, I think it is, where it's like this piece of plastic like goes through all these different obstructions, and what makes it to the bottom. Not everything makes it to the bottom, and triathlon didn't make it to the bottom. It
Yeah,
was like
right.
family, friends, find a new career. I
Far
was just
out.
like needed a new purpose
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow. Like I say, this has actually been recording. Did you want to talk about this stuff, or?
I'm fine with it. Yeah, like I'm perfectly capable of talking about it now. Like
Yeah.
I feel, I'm not going to say I'm like healed, but I'm emotionally enough together to like be able to chat it out for sure.
Okay.
And I guarantee there are lots of athletes that have lost someone in the last year, and it's triathlon can be a haven for healing and recovering and processing grief.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of not healthy ways to process grief.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, and then you just think about addictions and things like that. And if triathlon is that addiction, then that's okay.
It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind me asking, I mean, you mentioned chemo with your mum.
Mm-hmm.
Was it cancer over a long period of time, or did it come on fast? Or
It was fast. 2017 was such a weird year for me, because that's when I know I saw you after that, but I really remember seeing you in Kona in 2017.
Yeah.
And I woke up on race morning with an email saying your father's been diagnosed with
oh God.
Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. I got that email on race morning, and I knew it was a bad email. And so I had Jared read it, and I was basically like, can I race today? Like, I didn't let myself read it, but he's like, this is not good news, but it's news that can wait. And it didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter that I knew what the news was or not, because I was just like,
Yeah.
it's not good news. So I was just sad about it. So that was like a tough day for me. I wouldn't say it screwed up my race. I'm not going to say that, but it was just like, that was kind of when I felt like the rug pulled out from under me. And I basically spent like the next few months just assisting my dad, because he was in a really bad way. And, when we got the way the Canadian like healthcare system works is you have to be placed into long-term care. So you have to apply, and you might not get in near your family. You might get in somewhere far away. And so it was months of like getting him to different private facilities, trying to take care of him. And because of the memory loss, he was exit seeking, and everything just kept failing. And so it just like, even though I was managing triathlon, like life was just so much more important at that time. And it was not even 6 months later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And she called me from the hospital to tell me, to just say, hey, like, something's not okay. I'm jaundiced. She's an RN, she's a nurse. And so if she was telling me it was not great news, that it was probably not good. So by the next day I was flying up to Canada to be there for her surgery. And they figured out, the tumor was inoperable. So she had a big old tumor on her gallbladder that was pinching her bile duct that turned her yellow. So there's absolutely no symptoms of gallbladder cancer. So she just worked and worked and worked, had no idea, and was so focused on helping us with our dad.
Of course.
That she just like was not even thinking about herself. And which was my classic mom. She was very, very selfless. And they thought she'd have about 6 months to live, but she got 15 because she did the chemo and stuff like that. And that is, anyone that's like been through cancer knows that's a debate for every individual, because you're sick when you do chemo. Your quality of life can be diminished depending on how you respond to the chemo. And she decided to go that route because grandbaby was just born. She just wanted as much time with Dixon as she could get. So so yeah, it was just like, it was pretty heart-wrenching, and it was super hard to watch someone who is used to caring for others, especially as a nurse.
God, RNs are amazing.
Yes. I think it's literally like they're superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and my mom was a damn good nurse. She was so good. I can't even tell you how many like people I had met, her patients along the way, that were like, your mom is an angel. Like, she was so good at what she did. She did the nitty gritty hard stuff. She worked with homeless people. She works with like AIDS patients. She worked in palliative care, which takes like a very special human. And she ended up passing in the last place that she worked. So she was surrounded by her coworkers and things like that. So it was, as much as it was like very hard, it was also felt full circle, if that makes sense. Like her time as a caregiver. And it was her two favorite nurses that were their shifts. I swear she was waiting for 11 p.m. because she passed at 11 p.m. on July 4th. And her one closest coworker was finishing her shift, and her other closest coworker was starting her.
Oh, gosh.
So they were in the room at the same time.
Yeah, she was in control. She knew what was what.
Yeah, she was definitely in the driver's seat for that one. So she was where she got to pass hospice in Huntsville, Ontario, where actually Muskoka 70.3 is. And it's actually run by a triathlete. So I had...
Oh, my God.
The triathlon world is weird. It's so weird, but I was so grateful. I had met her a few years prior in the locker room at the local pool. So
wow,
to see her familiar face, and she was also like a coworker of my mom's. Like, so it was just, we felt so taken care of. And hospice caregivers, nurses, doctors, anyone that deals in that sort of realm is are real superheroes. They're pretty incredible people and so good at what they do.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of my good friends is, well, she's finished studying, and she's probably a year into her first, whatever you call it, working, but
yeah,
it's called something else like that.
Interning? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Residency. Is it residency?
Yeah, that sounds, I think that's what they say in Grey's Anatomy. I think that's right. Or Scrubs, either or. And I feel like she's the kind, she's my go, if I need to contact someone for help or whatever, she's the first person that I would call.
Oh, yeah.
Not my husband, because he would never pick up the phone. But we've had conversations, and I just couldn't think of a better person. I think it takes a unique person in that role, and it's something that can't be taught, I don't think.
Yeah,
It's
agree.
got to be in your blood.
And Canada has like from what I understand, some really beautifully like set up situations like this one was. It was literally looked like a cabin from the outside. It did not feel like a hospital. There was nothing like sad or sterile about it. It was a beautiful,
wow.
It looked like a home. It really did. There was a kitchen and all the other families that had people in hospice care. And I want to say there was only about 8 rooms.
Right.
So it was really, really intimate. It was just about like just being together as a family, and that's because we had to be, she did not want to be alone. That was one of her requests. And so one of 4 kids. And so either myself or one of my brothers was there all the time to be there with her. So it's tough. Going 10 days of watching someone pass is really, really hard. And there's a lot of like tough aspects about it that you don't know until you're in it. It's just, it's tough for sure. But it was, I was happy it went the way she wanted it to, which gave me peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, is it 3 brothers?
3 brothers, yeah.
Oh, wow. So were you having to look after them a little bit as well?
That's a great question. I felt like we were all kind of leaning on each other at different points. Like we'd have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
I was so grateful Jared was able to be with me, my husband. Like I found it out as executor just days before she passed. I had no idea. I don't think she even really realized it. Chemo brain is real. Like anyone that's like been through chemo, it's like, it just takes aspects of like your life away. And so one of the things like was her grasp on dying and kind of what was involved. And she kept showing me stuff, but like she was convinced it was one person. But anyways, long story short, it was me and my brother who both live in the States. So it was like super, like we were the two worst people to be settling her estate. But there we were, couldn't do anything about it because by the time we found out, she was, you know, just not in a situation where she could make changes to her affairs. So, so I was able to do everything from afar. COVID slowed things way down, but it was definitely tough to be doing that for the last year and a half.
Yeah, I bet. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. Like, it's fine. Yeah.
It's my gran's just been put in a home. Fuck, sorry.
You have nothing to apologize for.
I was fine until you started talking about the
executor.
But like the things that you don't think about, because it's sad, and then all of a sudden someone says you have to make all these decisions, and that's that's super confronting. Sorry to make that about me.
It's fine. The thing that I've realized is that everyone relates to this, and one of like my passions in my work now as an organizer has been I'm really passionate about working with the elderly population because they're really neglected. I wouldn't say neglected. They're lonely right now. Their adult children can't visit them as easily, or maybe they're afraid to have people over.
Yeah.
But even pre-COVID, I can't tell you how often people don't have their affairs in order and their money doesn't go where they want it to. They don't get the type of burial they maybe wanted, or they're at, all of those things. There's so many things like that are taken into consideration, everything from like life insurance, all of that. So that's been like a big passion for me when I work with clients now, is I'm in their offices all the time. Offices are a very common project for me. And really ensuring that people know, where are the life insurance policies? Who are the beneficiaries? Do you have a will? Do you understand? When was the last time you did your will? Is it up to date? Do your executors know their executors? Do you have a durable power of attorney? Do you have a power of attorney for if you're deemed incapacitated? Does that person know you're a power of attorney? So it's like all of these different things that are really, really important, because unfortunately there are people that are not interested in being your power of attorney. And if they say no, which they can, then it's up to the courts. And it can be really tough. So it's kind of a like not super fun topic to talk about, but it's really, really important. And definitely if I could have gone back and talked with my mom more about how she wanted things done, I would have. And finding money, figuring out where investments are. It was like I was seeing around in a dark room with a blindfold on. It was so difficult. So even though they're not comfortable conversations to have, we have to have these conversations, because otherwise the consequence can be pretty unideal.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, growing up, adulting, awesome.
Yeah, seriously. even like being like I share power of attorney of my father, it's tough, like being responsible for decisions, and, memory loss is like a very real thing that people face. And it can be, actually, I think it was like just Jack Hanna, the wildlife expert, just his family came out and said he's got Alzheimer's, and it's just tough. Yeah. It's just a really like vicious thing. But unfortunately, at some point in that process, like you're going to lose the ability to make decisions for yourself. And that loss of independence for anyone is really tough. But if you can have those difficult conversations, then you can just go about living, but just be uncomfortable for that couple hours it takes to sit down with a lawyer or financial advisor, whoever it takes to get all that stuff together. And then just, you never have to talk about it again until you need to. But I just always advocate for that. It's like my little PSA.
Got it. Noted. It's something that we've been discussing here, and something that it's like our next step in the journey of becoming adults.
Yes, for sure. It's like getting a will, joint bank account, all of those things.
I don't think we finally do have a joint bank account.
It took us like 7 years.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better, because I always think, oh shit, are we like really bad at this marriage thing if we haven't done that yet?
But it took us forever to do it. And it was just like, I don't know why. I think it's one of those things that you're like, well, his money's my money and my money's his money anyways. Like it wasn't even a thing to us. So
yeah.
Might have been right around 2013. Jared was like, maybe we should get a joint bank account, like when I had my really big year.
Wins high V, signs joint account.
Yeah, exactly.
Smart
that looks
man.
like a big check. We better get a joint bank account.
And I hope you walked into the bank account with a massive oversized check. What can I do with this?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that
funny.
actually, interestingly, I recycled all of those when I retired. I had kept a bunch of the really big ones, and that's how I knew I was like, even Hella is one of my closest friends, Hella Fredrickson.
Yeah.
She's like, you throw out the big checks, and I was like, she's like, you're really retired. you're
done.
really ready. Yeah.
Wow.
I've got like just a handful of things left for my career. I threw out most of my race suits as well. Like it was just, I was done within a few months. I had sold all my equipment. Like, yeah, it was crazy. And
Wow.
when I was done, I was done. It was an absolute switch for me.
So it's interesting that you say that essentially you were just cold turkey done, because, and I apologize because I probably should have reached out to find out why, but I felt like you just disappeared off the, yeah. So you succeeded in what you were trying to do.
Yes.
But, and it sounds like the process was pretty quick, but can we talk through like essentially the catalyst, which we've kind of touched on anyway, but then just what do you actually do? Do you actually, like, I don't remember an announcement or anything. I don't really remember anything happening. So how did you do it?
So I'll start with the catalyst. So my mom passed on July 4th of 2019, and I knew like within a few weeks that I was pretty sure I wanted to retire. Like I tried to get back into training. I think it was around like 6 weeks where I was like, training was just like, didn't feel good. And so Jared, after my mom passed. Yep. And I was just like, I come from a psychology background. So I was like, okay, it's just grief. Like when you process the emotional stuff, like it's going to start to feel better. And my mom had suggested organizing as a job to me at one point, and I just didn't think it was an actual career. And so then I started looking into organizing when I was looking at retiring. And so it was like triathlon was doing this, and like my interest in organizing was doing this. And so,
and sorry to interrupt, but before, and obviously there was a period of time where your mum was really sick, but kind of prior to that, where was your headspace in regards to triathlon? Were you a bit, I don't know.
I think in 2017 I felt like the last year where the money was still good. And I can't speak for all women, but I feel like sponsorship really went down in 2018. I felt like there was this like switch where it was like all of a sudden like $5,000 was a big contract. Like it was like, it was just, I felt like it just switched, and I don't know exactly what happened. It became hard to get deals. It became hard to get interest. Like it was tough. And I didn't love the sport enough at that point to have raced to make $30,000 in a year. Like that to me, triathlon was a job. I loved it, but I had done it for long enough where it was not, I didn't do it for the passion anymore. I did it because I loved winning, and I made good money doing it. Or like pushing myself and like maybe not winning, but like reaching new goals. Like it really was a job to me, a job that I loved, but it was a job.
Sure.
And I think it's because I did it for so long. Like there's not a ton of other people, but I was talking with Hella the other day that there was a generation of women that her and I raced with, that did it from a really young age. And I'd put like Liz Blatchford, Annabelle Luxford into that group. Jodie Swallow, Hello is one of them. Nicola Spirig, Daniela Riff. Like, we've been doing this sport forever. I raced for 22 years as a pro. Like,
fuck, people
I was
forget
good.
that, hey?
Yeah, I was good. I didn't have anything else I was like really interested in. So I knew I was getting, like, when the money wasn't good, I was like, oh, I don't know how much longer I want to do this, but I didn't know what was next. So the second I figured out what was next, I was out. Especially when the passion really took over in organizing. Yeah. And I just jumped in head first. I mean, it was October 13th of 2019. I got my LLC to start my business.
What's that?
Limited Liability Corporation.
Oh, okay.
It's just like, I'm a real thing now. I'm a business. And anyway, so I ended up just diving in headfirst to organizing, and I did do an announcement on Instagram, but like it just, I didn't make a lot of fanfare about it. And I also I never did feel like I was one of the really, really big names in the sport. So I think was an athlete that could sort of quietly step out of the sport. You know, I was never going to have like, you know, Hella had this like beautiful retirement moment in Ironman Denmark, and she got to go down the finish line and thousands of people cheered her on. That was never going to happen for me. Like, it was just like, and I'm cool with it. Like, I never have loved the spotlight. Social media was always a struggle for me. I had followers because I performed well a couple times and won some big races. And I was also good at a very obscure thing in our sport. Olympic distance non-draft. Yeah. And I had my biggest years before Instagram was a thing. Yep. And
that's so interesting. It's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's so I just didn't have that like same platform that other athletes that have retired in the last like few years have. And so I did. It was just sort of like stage left. I was out. Like, it was, I exited, and I really did check out. Like, I wasn't posting on Instagram. I had started a new Instagram for my organizing business, and I barely exercise now. Like, it's not even like I'm still participating. So it's so it was understandable that I just sort of went quietly into the night, into the normal human life.
Wow.
I'm very happy.
And that's wonderful to hear, because I know a lot of elite professional athletes really struggle with retirement and when to retire and then what's after. And not knowing a world outside of triathlon. There's so many out there, and it seems like, you're reveling it. Like, you're doing really well.
Yeah, I think the battle is finding out what's next. You have to know what's next for you. And I really encourage triathletes, no matter where they are at in their professional careers, to be thinking about that. And it does not have to be in the sport. Like, I think a lot of triathletes think they need to become like coaches, or that they need to, work for brands, or that they need to like be national team directors, or like, if you love the sport, great, but that's not the only thing you're good at. Like, that there's other industries who, yes, you may not be famous in that industry or well known in that industry, but your work ethic and your natural skills as a triathlete are really going to pay off. Yep. Like, I can't tell you how many of my clients that are like, I have never seen anyone hustle like you. Like, our work ethic is pretty amazing to do this as a career. So I really encourage professional triathletes, especially right now, because I feel like the state of our sport is super fragile right now, and there's some exciting things happening, but I wouldn't be basing my retirement savings off of what triathlon can give me right now. Yeah. You have to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you are living pretty risky. Yeah. Because the sport can exit whenever it wants with no consequence. It doesn't owe you a thing. Yeah. There's no severance package. we saw them cancel world championships like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And there went your biggest opportunity to get sponsorships, make prize money. It went away. So, and I don't know what the sponsorship landscape is like right now, but it can't be good. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. But I'm sitting here listening to someone who was, and granted, obviously in a niche within a niche sport, but
yeah, exactly.
you were an extremely successful Olympic distance non-drafting athlete, like one of, if not the best, during that period of time. And then it's almost like, and then you're kind of forced to go up to half distance racing because that petered off.
Olympic distance went away.
Yeah, well, didn't peter off.
And that's
what just went.
Yeah,
again,
and that's what I mean. Like, when a sponsor decides or when a corporation decides that they're done, they're done. And there went like my career, my prize money that had been like over 6 figures for a couple years in prize money. Like that's prize money was
insane.
Yeah, we had it so good. Like I was talking with Hella and I think Haskins about a year ago. Like it was just, we didn't realize how good we had it. It was just like something we had come to expect. And when that went away, and that's the thing is like sport can come and go. We have had people interested in the sport and then push in all this money and then depart from the sport. So it's like you can't count on any of it. Yeah. So it's, I think having a plan for what's next should always be on athletes' minds.
Yeah, definitely. So organising.
Yes.
Like, even when we first started this, you're like, I just got back from work. And even that, I was like, oh, yeah, you do that now. Like, because I know you as the triathlete, and it is so great. And I think I follow your account. I stalked it for a bit anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, you seem to love it. Like, you are into it.
I legit love it. It's like a real thing. Like, people think I'm absolutely nuts, but like, like my love language is labeling 100%. Like I love labeling things, and like just making people's lives easier is like my absolute most favorite thing in the world. And I think I have the best job. And I think and I love it more than I love triathlon, which is like kind of insane to say. And maybe it's because it's new and it's fresh and I'm in that honeymoon stage, but like I love making people's lives better. Like the after moment where a client's seeing their space for the first time and I've just made like a single mom's life easier because her pantry looks beautiful and now her kids can reach the snacks. It's like, yes, those are super small wins, but she will feel that win for days and weeks and years because of what I did for her. And that feels really, really good. And so I like serving people. I love helping people. I always knew customer service and making people feel important was a strength for me. And so this business really plays into that. And I love doing handy woman stuff. I hate that I even have to say handy woman. There used to be some like gender neutral word for that, handyman, handy woman. But I get to build closets. I get to like build shelving systems. Like it combines a lot of the things that I love to do. And then I think my final strength is my counseling background. So helping people let go of things. I don't work with, everyone's like, oh, you must work with hoarders. It's like, no, that's like in the DSM, it's a diagnosable psychiatric condition. Like that's outside of my scope of practice, but I do help people that have a lot of stuff, and Americans are consumers. Like we have a lot of stuff. And so I help people, live with less stuff and, be at peace with that. And that's really, really cool. Like we don't realize the reasons we have attachments to things. Like I just told you I let go of some cardboard checks and your jaw dropped. Like it's like the emotion, it's the attachment is to the achievement, and I'm proud of that achievement, but the achievement is not, it's the memory's not held in that check. So I very happily was able to just let those go because they took up so much physical space in my home. So being able to do that for clients is pretty cool because a lot of people are drowning in stuff.
Wow. I've never thought about it like that. Like, you're pulling in, well, I imagine as a triathlete, you'll probably, and I don't want to say this lightly because we do joke saying OCD and everything. And I know that that's a condition, especially speaking to someone with a psych background. I'm probably really fluffing over that. And I don't mean to, but I feel like as an athlete that you would have, had those tendencies and organizational skills, and then the psych background as well. Honestly, when you said I do organizing, I was like, I don't understand. But now it makes complete sense when you break it down like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times you saw me in transition or had seen me at a race meeting, but like, I was crazy. Yes. Yeah. That, like, I had a plan for everything. Like, if someone, like, I had all the things that would fix all the things. I had contingency plans for everything. Nothing was going to prevent me from getting to the finish line.
Yeah.
And so that skill set just completely paid off. That attention to detail. Like, I knew my bike inside and out. I serviced my bike inside and out. Like, I didn't trust people with my bike on race week. So, and it was time with actually like Ben Powell, Hella's husband, like really sitting down with him, like Nate Cordham, Sarah's husband. You know, these are women I raced with that had husbands who were supporting them in that role. But my husband raced. I was on my own. And so I was carrying the luggage. I was the mechanic. I had to do all those things, the photographer, like all the things that you're supposed to also do and win the race. Which was tough. So being highly, highly detail oriented was crucial to my success. And it was the only way I got to the start line, feeling very confident and calm. And, I don't know how, like, Sarah True, like, I adore her, but like her vibe on race morning, she's so loosey goosey. It's like, someone have a pump. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have like a floor pump, and then I have like a hand pump, and then I've got like 4 or 5 CO2s, like in case those fail. Like, and it was St. George, I remember, and it was like right after I found out about my mom. It was one of my last really big races. Yeah. And Sarah and I, she's like, wow, we are so different on race morning. I'm like, we sure are. We sure are. She rolls with being super relaxed, whereas like I was highly, highly detail oriented, very structured on race morning. I even had a things to do list for the things I did in order when I showed up to transition to ensure nothing was forgotten. Like, I've never been diagnosed with OCD, but if I didn't like follow that list in that exact order, it did not feel right. And not that I couldn't adapt, but I didn't like that being interrupted. So even things like torque wrenches, I had to have like torque keys, because if I tighten something like 1 Newton meter too tight, I was like, it could result in the carbon fracturing. Like, those are all things, all those details were dialed in on my equipment.
Wow. I don't think
it was exhausting.
Yeah. So you're like, organizing houses is easy compared to swim bike run. Yeah. Yeah.
No one's career is on the line that day. No one's mortgage payments are on the line that day. Like, it was just being able to do that in such a high stress situation and being the one who performs. Like, it's organizing is right on my alley.
But do you think if you had a partner who wasn't racing and who could come in and help, that you would let go and let them?
That's a great question. I had a very small circle of people that I trusted, like on my equipment and like with my body, like a race week, whether it was like massage therapist. So I was not afraid to delegate, like if I could, but there was only a certain amount of delegation that I could feel comfortable with, if that made sense, because I did feel like ultimately it was my race, and I didn't want to blame anyone for my lack of success that day. So, if I like something happened to my bike and I was like, oh, that's that mechanic did that. He didn't tighten those bolts on my bike. Well, that's my own fault, because I put my race in an exhausted mechanic's hand the race week of Kona. You're an idiot. Like, I that's how I saw it, was just, I just wanted to feel completely in control of my result. And by being in control was knowing my bike inside and out, servicing my bike inside and out. And that's really the only part of our sport that's like very, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong with the bike.
A little bit.
Once I was like running, it was like, it's not like you're going to get a flat shoe, or like something. You could drop your nutrition, but you just stop and get it, you know? So But it was even more so in Olympic distance because the opportunity for things to go wrong and you to recover from them was like the same, but you couldn't recover from those errors as well. So the shorter the distance, the more OCD I got.
Yeah, I bet. So did you ever end up having any mechanical issues that you're... No, of course you didn't.
No.
Oh, God, I rate that. I love that so much. Because too many times I hear of, and unfortunately particularly women, who don't spend time getting to know their bike and the mechanics of the bike.
Yeah, I mean, that's your own fault. Like, I don't mean that as like, in our as an athlete, regardless of whether you're male or female, and I don't know whether our male athletes are so inclined to learn more about your bike, but as women, I really encourage women to empower themselves and get to know their bikes. You are perfectly capable of servicing your bike just as well as any guy. There's not like some special, like, you have a penis, so you can do this. Like, you're going to be just fine. Like, and start on YouTube, watch videos. Like, there's so much out there on the internet where you can learn and watch these things and practice it in your off season. That's what I did. Like, and I'll give my husband like tons of props. Like, when I got better at the bike stuff than him, he was like, you know what? I can see how much calmness like this brings you to travel with your bike and know your bike so well. You're not freaking out about getting your bike into a mechanic. You're not running around to bike shops. I carried everything I could possibly need. I traveled with Di2 wires. I traveled with brake cables. I traveled with, I had a full mechanic setup. The only thing I didn't bring was like a bottom bracket tool. I had extra chains. I had extra pedals. I traveled with 2 sets of wheels. Like, I did it all. And, so Jared was like, I'm going to build a bike. And so that's what he did. And I think that's one of the best ways to learn, is to just start from scratch, see the skeleton of a bike, and then put, I call it like the veins and the organs all in, which is your components, and so that you can learn it. And that became like a real passion for me and provided me so much peace on race day.
Wow.
Was because I knew it. And if something went wrong, I could probably fix it. And and honestly, even if something went wrong in Kona and like we had those like cool mechanic guys, I would probably do it myself. I'd be like, give me that. Because I wouldn't want anyone to touch it. Because it's like my stuff.
You are so much more cooler than I thought. I mean, no, that sounded wrong.
I thought this was going to be the worst interview.
That's not what I meant. I was really dreading getting up for this. I've always thought you were cool. You are way cooler.
Thank you.
I can't say it without it sounding offensive, and I really mean it as a, like, I just kind of think you're a bit badass.
It feels thank you.
Yeah.
I think the thing is with, I think someone at Triathlete, and I cannot remember who said this to me, said, you'll be one of the best triathletes that existed that no one's ever heard of. And I just think that it was because of me being good at an obscure aspect of our sport.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit about social media.
Yeah. Bad
combo. For being a star. I don't care that someone knows who I am or doesn't know who I am. Like that.
Yeah.
It never fazed me. Like I never cared about being on magazine covers. I never cared to be like lusted after or be on those like hot girl triathlete lists. Like it was just never something that I strived to. I legit just loved winning races and I wanted to win. And I also loved that it was my job.
Yeah.
And so when that job component went away because the money became so little and then the timing of my mom passing, it was like, I'm good. Like I was really proud of what I'd done in the sport, and there's nothing I would change or nothing that I wish I could go back and do. I watched Challenge Daytona happily as a commentator.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, because I think I remember one of our discussions and I think it was actually the first time I met you in Kona when I came to the resort. And hung out with you and Lisa. And it was awesome because I didn't know, well, I actually didn't even know either one of you all that well. I was actually watching footage of this just the other day, and there's a bit where I think I joked because you were running towards the camera and stuff, and I was filming it as well. And I think I joked, I'm like, oh, can you like almost jump over me? And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. And I said, actually, no, I'm joking, because imagine if you tried to jump over me while I'm taking a photo and you do your hammy and it's all my fault. And Anyway, I've got that on. I'll try and find it and I'll send it over. But anyway, the interview section, I just remember you we were talking along the lines of, I don't really do a whole lot of these kind of things. And I was shocked. And you're like, it's okay, whatever. You didn't seem to give a shit then either. Not give a shit, but you were just like, that's just the way it is. And that's okay. I'm here to race. I'm not here for the fanfare. And that, I got that sensation from you back then.
Yeah. It was it was never important to me. And I struggle with it now in my business because, social media is a great way to grow your business. And as a small business owner, it's like a free way to market yourself. As an athlete, to me, sponsorship dollars, endorsements should just straight up be going to the best athletes in the world. And it was like one of the reasons I loved working with Specialized, like back in the day, was because they just sponsor the best athletes and they don't mince words about it. And when you stop performing, they let you go. Yeah. Or you find a better contract like Lucy Charles, who's like, good for her. Yeah. Like that's awesome. Yeah. But I sort of love the simplicity of that, like the no bullshit. Perform and we'll pay you. We'll sign you. Yes, there are dream sponsorships like I had like with Tri-Flare. Like they were just like this obscure tiny little company in the States that supported me through and through. And I had some other really wonderful sponsors, and I'm not here to like plug those relationships, but I just I raced to win, and that was it. Like, and coming from a sports psychology background, all sorts of professors would tell you that's not a good idea. Like you shouldn't race to win. Like I loved it. And it really what drove me. And I loved dominating other athletes. Like when I was very dominant in Olympic distance, I remember I used to say, I want to beat you so badly that you question why you're doing the sport. That was literally
did you actually say that to someone?
No, but that was what I would think.
Yeah.
Like I thought that way. Like I enjoyed putting myself through pain and knowing that anyone that was trying to stay with me was going through just as much pain or if not more. And it was really training under Joel Filial's squad that I really got into that. Yeah. Was because there were certain people that I trained with that loved it when it's like, you're going to go with me today? Well, you're in for a treat because you're like, it was just that group just put each other through pain, and it was like calculated, and I just got very good at managing pain, and I felt so confident from that training that I didn't think anyone could put themselves through pain like I could. I don't think I'm very talented. If you knew my easy run pace right now, you would know that I'm not talented. I think I was just extremely hardworking, very detail-oriented, super dedicated, and that paid off on big days. And I loved big days. It didn't stress me out.
Yeah. Fuck, see, you're badass. I like it. I don't often hear women speak like that. And I've had this discussion, just so happens to be a lot in the last week. And probably more around like the banter and just being unafraid to just be so authentic, and in terms of, is that Jared? Hi, Jared.
That's Jared.
In the background.
You're on the internet.
You're going viral, like those.
Going viral.
But when women speak their mind about having confidence or wanting to beat other competitors, it's not a personal thing. That's me as a competitor. I'm nowhere near an elite triathlete, but whenever I've raced and have been reasonably good at racing, or when I played team sport, I wanted to beat the competition off the racetrack. No dramas, sweet, friendly, but that day. But why does it, when women talk like that, it comes across as arrogant? To me, it doesn't come across like that, but society and it's cocky, not confident. So I understand because it's a societal thing, but I want to change it because it drives me insane. And listening to the way that you used to approach things, I'm like, that's what we need. We need more of that, in my opinion.
I agree, and I think there's certain athletes that are willing to be like very just like really confident and out there. I think Rinny's one of them.
Yeah.
I really have always looked up to how confident she is. When she's on, and she will say so. But I think the athlete that really helped me feel confident in to speak that way and just to be just frank about how I approached competition was Hella. She's Danish. They do not mince words. Like, they're so straightforward. And I trained with her day in and day out for like 4 years straight. We did every session together, and we became really, really good friends. But the thing that, like, when the gun went, we were not friends, at all.
Awesome.
Like, we were fierce competitors, and I wasn't doing anything to help her on race day, and she was not doing anything to help me. And she saw me race once, like in pretty peak form in 2013, and she was like, you know, you can still be kind, sweet Alicia, and also not say go Hella on the race course when you go by me. You know, like, you don't have to like care about others when you race.
Yeah.
You can be supremely selfish. Like, and she didn't say it in all these words, but this is like what I absorbed, which was that it is okay to be completely self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that. I am not a selfish person. I am a giver. And I will hand over my last gel, you know, to someone else. And she's like, you can't do that. Like, you're training too hard, and there's too much good money out there. And our opportunity to do this is like, you've got to maximize it. And like, I was literally like, I would ride up on someone and be like, great job. like just dumb things like that. And it's like, why am I doing that? And so when I just fully embraced this persona, this new persona of Alicia that was like unapologetically here to destroy you, I just
game changer.
That was it. It was just like, like, I don't want to just win by a little. Like, I want you to question how you got here.
So good.
like that was. And I remember I said this to Joel at a like coach athlete meeting, and Paula was hearing, and Paula, I remember, sat there and she was like, I'm afraid to race you. Like, she was like, and Joel's like, you need to like take some of Alicia's mindset and like put it in your brain, because that sort of like relentless, like hungry, like attitude is like, you know, athletes like Apollo at the time, and this is in 2013, like right after 2012, it was like she could have used some of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It actually always reminds me of Mary Beth Ellis. Like, she's aggressive on the race course, but this tiny, like, even her voice is like meek and mild, like, you know, she's this tiny little person off it, and but don't fuck with her on race day. And I feel like you can be as tough, as confident, as driven as you want on the race course. It doesn't mean that you're actually, like, you're not going out there and kicking someone on the bike as you go past. Like, you're not actually doing anything to them. You're just doing your thing. Like, with the swagger that you want to do it with. Like, that's like exactly it. And I still, like, in Ironman, I found that really hard to sustain, and it was something that I had to, like, that sort of intensity I had to back way off. Sure.
I became more of like old Alicia. Like, I needed that like pat on the bum from a girl that went by me, and I wanted to give her that back, you know, like that shared energy, because gosh, in like a mile I could be throwing up on the side of the road. Like, you never knew what was going to happen in an Ironman. And so I found that I had to tap back into like a different persona for Ironman, because it's such a vulnerable style of competing. Like, I never was able to get that like crazy, wildly confident. Like, but when I watch someone like Daniela, or like those women that, when they're having an amazing day, like, I see that in them now. Like, you can't mess with me today. Like, I'm going to crush you. Like, Jan, when he's on, he has that, like, that swagger about him. And like I just never got to really have that in Ironman, but I also don't think that was my jam. Like, that wasn't my distance.
So I was going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm going to be right, that the passion wasn't really there for the longer stuff.
No,
Yeah.
to me it was pacing, not racing.
Yeah.
Like it was and I didn't like, I wouldn't say I didn't like it, because I did. I enjoyed the challenge of it. I enjoyed get the stage that Kona provided. Like that was so cool. Like if that could have existed for Olympic distance, that would have been a fantasy for me. But it was, because I didn't get to win. Like that was the thing. I never was as successful as I was at Olympic distance, and it just wasn't in my skill set in the same way. And gosh, I trained under some pretty amazing coaches trying to figure out this iron distance thing for me. And my problem was I threw up. Like, gosh, I tried everything, and throwing up is no fun.
Yeah, no.
And I just couldn't keep calories down. And the handful of races that I did keep calories down, it was just like I drastically underperformed based off of what I did in races. And on Olympic distance, I was the opposite. I overperformed based off of what I did in training. So just never quite figured that out. And even halves, it was like nothing compared to what I was capable of doing at Olympics. So I wouldn't say nothing, but it just, my talents were in short course for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You say, well, you don't say, you did. You just left the sport. It was almost cold turkey done. What enticed you to come back to do some of the commentary?
Bill Christie.
Okay.
So yeah. I had met him through some charity cycling rides for it's really cool. They like have professional triathletes and cyclists all come together with professional race car drivers around race week of Daytona. Daytona, and we had, I think, met then, and then like I think it was like prior to that, and he's like, I want to put a big triathlon at the Daytona Speedway. And so it had been years of talking about it.
You knew about these very early stages.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Bill is like, I think you should announce. Like, I think you're the perfect person. You have ITU experience. You have long course experience. You know a lot of the people still racing. So, and he just threw me in. So it was great. I loved it, though. It was such a rush. And I really loved being on the back of the moto and getting to commentate on the advances that are happening in our sport. It's really exciting. Athletes are really pushing the envelope and actually getting to watch the men's racing, because I very rarely followed the men's racing. I was obviously naturally more interested in the women's stuff. So it's like, yeah. So it's cool to get to like watch both of them and see what people are up to and how they're pushing the limits. And I mean, these are women I raced with too, you know, so to like, but I never have the sense when I'm watching it, even when I'm on the moto, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm on a motorcycle right now. And I just get to like, so much easier. Yeah. Like there's no part of me that's itchy to be on the start line and competing with them. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very, very at peace with being on the sidelines and getting to, I guess, like just try to do what I can to contribute to the platform that Bill's trying to create and create racing opportunities that get on TV. Like that's a big deal for our sport. And do so in a way that like engages audiences and just creating access to our sport. Like that's just so important.
Yeah, definitely. How's the I love that you said this. Actually, I don't even think you use this word, but it's the word I use when you're covering an event. The adrenaline, the craziness of being at the right spot at the right time and trying to predict the play and then talking about it. And it's full on. And I don't think, well, now that you've done it a couple of times, I think you can appreciate how much work goes into covering a race, because people don't. It's
nuts. Like if I told people the hundreds of people that were involved in the production end of Challenge Daytona, they wouldn't believe it. Like I literally, just for me as one announcer, had a team of about 6 guys that would be in this little golf cart following me around, ensuring my sound was right, ensuring that I had the right mics, that my batteries were powered up. Like, wow, this is what Witsup needs, right? It's a golf cart full of guys.
We all need a golf cart full of guys.
Do you need snacks? Do you need water? Like they were like sunscreen. Like they were.
Because I always forget to put sunscreen on. I never eat. I come home trashed from every race I cover because I don't. All I'm doing is
you don't
just
take care of yourself.
No.
I purposely dehydrate myself so I don't have to go pee on race day. Like it's just like it's it's just ridiculous. But yeah, like the investment that Bill is making into the production end is like absolutely insane. Like to have NASCAR Productions putting on a triathlon, like, and people don't realize the weeks of meetings that we're doing leading into it, studying, you know, to have like Rick Allen learn about triathlon in such a short period of time. And like, I mean, our first meeting, it was triathlon.
Oh,
like
God.
It was amazing. Like how quickly he learned about the sport. Like, I mean, now him and Belinda are like best friends. Like it's really cool to see like these two sports. And I do think like at some point we're going to see this like weird little crossover between race car driving and triathlon. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see in a tight venue, and it's different racing. We're not seeing the athletes we expect to win.
Yeah.
Because you're never out of sight and out of mind. And there are very particular certain athletes that like to race that way. And you do not get that on any speedway.
Interesting. Out of sight, out of mind. And athletes who like to race that way. Do you mean like cheat? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're insinuating?
Maybe if there's a motorcycle up there for them to sit on. Yeah. But it's easy to, I'm not going to say it's easy to win that way because you had to do something amazing enough to get to the end of the field and to have a gap.
Yeah.
But I do, like we see world records get broken this way, right? Where someone's like way off the front and somehow they're like pulling away from a field and like, you know, it's just sort of, I think that's the one aspect of our sport that I'm just kind of like, ugh, you know, with the effort that's put into giving these athletes a fair race and the 20-meter draft rule and like our motos are, we have so much space on the track to just sit so high up. Like we're never in the athlete's way. We're never giving them a draft. Like, and it's full on racing the entire time. Like these athletes are not getting a break. You're never ever safe because someone who's hungry still sees you.
Oh yeah,
you're
that's
never
true.
safe.
Yeah.
And like, and even if they can't see you far away, they can look at the Jumbotron. Like there's so much information you're getting, and athletes, like that's why I think the ITU style athletes are really just like thriving in this environment.
Yeah.
And athletes who just love to race. Like I think Lucy Charles is one of those athletes that I think of who loves a race. Like I honestly think she's incredibly confident, and I love that. I love that she's unapologetically confident. Yeah. She's like, I love to race. Who the hell was that on my feet? In the swim?
I know. Haven't done that before. Like that was so good. Yeah. Yeah,
like you know, so I just sort of I love it. I just think that style of racing is really, really fun, and you don't get that in Ironman. Can you imagine an Ironman like on a course like that?
Oh my God.
The athletes may like lose their minds, but sure does make for exciting racing.
Exactly. Yeah, and that will add another element to doing 180k bikes. You know, the mental side of it. Can they actually withstand just that alone?
Yeah. Yep. No, and I mean, there's lots of different race courses, like racetracks out there. They're not always flat and oval. There's hilly ones. Yeah. There's ones with chicanes. There's, you know, so Bill's working on this a lot, and it won't always be the Daytona Speedway.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to have other tracks for sure. So Miami was the first little taste of that, but I think we're going to see more.
Awesome. Well, my very first duathlon was actually on a racetrack, now that I think about it. And I actually turned up a week early, got the dates wrong, which my best friend...
That's amazing.
Yeah. But my best mate, because she wanted to support me, she stayed at my house the Saturday night and was quite hungover the next morning, but she committed coming to the race.
There.
And we turned up a week early and she was not happy. So then she came back again the next week, and but it was on a racetrack. So full circle. Awesome. Look at that.
My first world champs was on a racetrack in Montreal.
Well, there you go.
Our sport definitely has history of being done on racetracks. So and I remember that race. I want to say it was 9 laps for an Olympic distance. Yeah, and I counted those at the age of 15, so anyone can do it.
I did a race in Hobart in Tassie, and I think it was 8 laps on the bike. And I ended up, because I was so nervous about my watch not working and not counting, that I got little electrical tape, and I put 8 things on my bar, and each time.
She ripped off.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what they did at those Worlds. We got 9 little stickers to rip off our bikes. So, but that, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but then I was like, did I rip one off the last time? And then anyway.
Oh,
so confusing.
Yeah, like, thank goodness they have the trackers for them on the Speedway now. Like, it makes a huge difference, because when I did Challenge Daytona the years prior, like, it was a constant. It was like, I said 15, but was that 15 or is this 15?
Yes.
Like, it was just like, oh God, it was so stressful. And I just remember Jody in the middle of Challenge Miami. She's like, one more lap, right? And so then I'm like radioing and like, one more lap, right? And like Jared's giving the stats down, like, yes, one more lap. And I'm yelling this to Jody, like, while I'm watching her have like the race of, I'm not going to say her career, but a breakthrough performance after the loss of her dad.
Totally.
And I'm like, get this right, Alicia. And then so I'm like screaming to the timer, like, one more lap. It's just, yeah. So I luckily did not screw that up, because I was really feeling that for her.
Well, I would like to give feedback, and I loved the commentary team. I think you all worked really well together. It's really nice to and I've spoken to Belinda about this, and I don't want to say experts, because obviously she's done a lot of commentary in her life in triathlon, so she obviously knows what she's talking about. But I feel like in triathlon, we kind of just, it's not like we've had a professional presenter come from a different sport into our sport in so much in the past. So it's really nice to see someone who is really pro in their industry come into our sport, and we all, and I say we, not me, I wasn't there, but seeing everyone work together and actually doing it as a professional production, that's how it came across to me. And I noticed those kind of things, and I assume a lot of the audience do as well. I felt it worked. I felt it worked really, really well. Yourself included.
And thank you. And I'm so self-critical, and I rewatched my entire live broadcast and made notes on things that I can do better for next time. And I'm really, I agree. I think having someone as seasoned as Rick Allen coming into it, and he literally manages the entire thing. Like, when in the studio, like, he's so integral, and he's taken his role very seriously and follows the athletes. Like, he knew about like Jan's Hotel, and like he's genuinely become a fan of the sport. And, so that's nice to see, because I think we've had announcers come in that are just, we'll say like triathlon, not pronounce people's names right. Like, literally Rick is so detail oriented and has become a student of the sport. And it's like, we're so fortunate to have that, because fans of maybe him or NASCAR may watch just because he's involved with the production. So it's great. Like, honestly, I'm really, really grateful to be a part of that, and hopefully helping contribute to the platform that athletes can have to stand on, because it looks great for sponsorships, and there's a lot of opportunities to just increase your value. Yeah. And actually get your name out there and your brands out there and things like that. So it's good. It's great for the athletes.
Yeah. Do you think this commentary role, hopefully it continues in some capacity?
Yeah.
Do you think that's the only way you'll have your foot in the door in triathlon, or do you think that at some point there'll be another opportunity or something else?
I love the commentary, and I really, really do. So for me, that's like the only role that I could envision myself in. I'm a great facilitator. I'm a terrible coach. I am the person you want supporting your session. But I was never going to be a coach. I did like the USAT coaching certification, and I did it, and I was like, it's just going to go to waste. I'm not going to do anything to renew it. I have zero interest in coaching athletes. I can't picture any other role. I love the commentary because it's about uplifting others, and it's about supporting others. And I love doing that. It's like what I do in my work. Yeah. Like, I'd probably be a good athlete support person, like what Belinda does, but seeing how stressed she is in like race week and the requests that athletes give, I realize now is a very chill athlete compared to some of the requests that she gets and the things that people like expect her to be able to do. It's like, it's just ridiculous, So, it's commentary or nothing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm very just at peace with my time in the sport. And I also feel like I gave it a lot, and I don't want to give it much more.
Fair enough.
I actually have this like weird feeling of like, this is going to sound weird, but a smidge of resentment when I come back from a triathlon. Like this, I cared so much about, like, I almost am mad at myself for how much I cared for like a few days. I know that sounds weird.
Mate, it does not. It does not sound weird to me. To me, it doesn't, because, and again, not from a professional athlete's point of view, but from the work that I do, I feel exactly the same. Exactly. Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah. I like get mad at myself at like, it's sort of like going back to an old lover or something. Like, let myself get wrapped up in them for those, gosh, like that's exactly what it feels like. And it's like, it's not that it's bad for me or any of those things. I'm just so at peace with not being in it because of how much I gave to myself. I can't, of myself to the sport. And I also, I don't regret it, but the weddings I missed, the funerals I missed, the big days that we all, like as athletes, and that we miss. We just don't go home because you've got an important race coming up. You've got a big session. You're in the middle of a training block. Like, and the other thing sounds weird is you pick one. This person's dying. Do you want to go see them before they die, or do you want to go to their funeral? Because you can only go up to one in the middle of your season. Like, these are the types of decisions that athletes make all the time that like people don't realize they're doing, and it had better be worth it. You have to be really at peace with what you give to triathlon, because when you're in it and like very absorbed in it, it can feel like, of course you have to, but there is a big world and a lot of life to live when you're done. And you're going to have to live with all of the giving that you gave to the sport. So you have to be very aware of what you're giving and what you're giving up.
I love listening to you. Like, you've just got, I don't think you mean to, but you speak a lot of truth. And sorry, I know you mean to speak your truth, but I don't think you realize just how, like, this is all really resonating with me, to be honest. And maybe it's just where I'm at in my life at the moment. But everything that you're saying is so important and
thank you.
And so truthful. And I think people can learn a lot from you. A lot.
Thank you.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. And I mean, as women, we wait to have children. We put a lot on the back burner. And when you hang up the goggles and you don't own a bike anymore and you only run a few times a week, life is way, way bigger. And finding purpose outside of triathlon, finding happiness in your partner, family, what does that look like for you? Like, there's so many wrinkles to life, and triathlon is such a small wrinkle in comparison to the other things. And I think it was, like, I literally watched my mom die. Like, I watched her breathe her last breaths. And when we leave this earth, all that's left is stuff. It's our stuff. It's our clothes. It's our shoes. It's like these little nuances of our life. And it's everything that we do should be fulfilling a very specific purpose for us. And it wasn't until I watched someone pass that it clicked for me. It was just like, triathlon is taking too much of me to be my job anymore. I want to have a job that still allows me to be there for my family, to be a great wife, to be a great aunt, to be a great sister, to be a contributing, like, to be able to give more of myself, because any triathlete listening to this is probably super selfish like I was. Like, the world revolved around me, so it was, I put so many things on the back burner, and I was not willing to do that anymore. And it was never out of resentment for the sport. I loved my time in the sport. It was wonderful. I just have nothing more to give it. Other than the commentary a couple times a year. That's great. It's also been convenient because I drive there, but I don't know that I'd fly to it. It's just sort of like, it's the sport just has a very specific place for me now. And I did an interview with oh my gosh, Haley Chura, and I was talking about how I felt like an imposter a little bit talking about it because I just feel so disconnected from the sport at this point. So because I just, like, I look at pictures of myself, I'm like, man, remember when I was good at riding my bike, Jared? Like, do you remember that?
Oh, God.
It's weird. Yeah, I just feel very at peace with what I did, but also I'm not Alicia the triathlete anymore at all. It has zero part of my identity.
Wow.
It's it's like it just felt like a limb that just got chopped off.
So then how did you respond to me saying, hey, let's have a chat on the podcast? I mean, I know you responded yes, but...
Yeah. I always loved our interviews, and I think your biggest talent is that you disarm people. You certainly disarmed me. Like, and I don't know that another interviewer could pull out what you pull out of me. And I genuinely think that's your talent. And the gift that you have as someone in your field. And I remember noticing that from one of my first interviews with you. And it was just kind of like, wow, she's very good at, like, making me say the thing that, like, I didn't think I would say out loud.
Really?
Right? Like, yeah. So, like, that's a real talent. So I enjoy talking to someone who makes me go to the parts of myself that I maybe wouldn't say out loud.
Yeah.
You know, that I might think, oh, someone will think that's weird. Someone will be offended by that. Oh, I don't want people to know that. That's a part of me that, like, I'm a bit embarrassed of. But I think you have a real talent of giving me, and I think other athletes that have been interviewed by you, peace with just saying what's on their heart, you know? So I felt like this was, like, my one little, like, opportunity to do that, because you won't come knocking in 2 years when you're like, Alicia Kaye? What was that girl's name? So yeah, like, I love it. I love chatting with you. And I knew we'd be talking about so much more than triathlon because, you know, we're going to have a lot of retirement of athletes in the next few years. And a lot of athletes that all race together and getting into their late 30s and early 40s. And I hope that other athletes find peace in their normal human life like I have, because it's the key to happiness for sure, is finding that next chapter. Wow.
Well, thank you. That's possibly one of the best compliments you could give me. But it's not just a compliment. For me, it's allowing me to have more confidence in what I shouldn't act surprised, because I feel like I do that and I enjoy doing that. It's actually probably my most favorite part of my job, and not just my job. This is what I do every day. It's what I probably missed most during lockdown and stuff. It's just seeing people and meeting people and finding out about them and having a laugh. And like yesterday, I went and filmed an insurance company to try and make a video that's exciting about insurance, which sounds like the most bizarre turn of events for me. But the feedback I got from that was, everyone felt really comfortable and relaxed around you, and it didn't feel like and I was like, okay, that is me. That is what I do and what I enjoy. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a pleasure being interviewed by someone. It's cathartic. Like, it's therapeutic to be able to, like, talk about this part of me, because I didn't really talk about my retirement. COVID hit, right? So it's not like, and I wasn't the level of athlete that people wanted to interview me about my retirement. Like, it was just this thing that happened. Like, my mom died, I started my business, I retired, and sometimes you hear my voice on the commentary of some races. And it's really, that's my only foot still in the sport. And I'm friends with a few athletes now, but there were sometimes, like, unpacking the emotional side of retiring is helpful for sure. And even though my transition's been smooth, it's like really reflecting on it has still been, this is like one of the few times I have. And certainly the most in-depth I've gone to really looking at the process and the emotional process that I went through in my retirement.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I mean every word in terms of you speaking your truth. I'm really impressed that you've gotten to a point in your life where you've recognized those important things. And again, and we both need to reiterate this, it's not that triathlon wasn't important. It's not that you regret anything that you did, but you've recognized that shift. There's something changed, and that's okay. And I feel like people fight against that a lot, me included. So it's really important to discuss these things so other people can hopefully recognize, you know, changes in their life as well and take those leaps. And yeah, I don't know, that purpose kept coming up. That's what keeps coming up in my head now is, your purpose.
Yeah. And I think trust your gut instinct. Like I knew I was ready to retire, and Jared was my coach at the time, and he did the absolute best thing he could have done. And like, I think this is if anyone's ever wondering if they're ready to retire, go to a race and give yourself permission to not start if you don't want to. And that is your answer.
Wow.
That's it. Bottom line. But you have to give yourself permission to not start if you don't want to. And that's what I did. I went to Augusta in September of 2019, drove all the way up there, did all my OCD shit that I do the day before a race. Everything was laid out. Bike was in transition. Everything was perfect. And I barely slept the night before because I just was like riddled with anxiety, and woke up on race morning, and I started doing the like awful race prep stuff where like you knew you didn't sleep well, you feel sick, you're trying to choke down your dry oatmeal that you made with coffee maker water, and it's like, I don't have to do this. And it was just this like light bulb moment. Yeah, I don't have to race today. And I looked at Jared, I was like, I don't think I want to race. And he's like, okay, well, let's go down. You could go get your bike, and then maybe you'll be around the other girls, and then you'll want to. And I got down there, and I was literally like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I couldn't get my bike fast enough to get out. Like, I was just looking at the lines of the porta potty, like the aggro athletes that are like, give me my bike bump, and like fighting over stuff in transition. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Like, and I went straight to an official, and I don't even know who he was, but like, it was like he knew exactly what I needed. He helped me get my bike. I was like, here's my chip. I'm out. That was it.
Wow.
Walked to my bike, and we went for breakfast and drove back to Florida that same day.
You didn't even watch the race? Nothing?
No. Left.
Wow. It's like a mic drop. That is done. Wow.
Yeah, it was like, I think that's like the best advice I could give to someone who's thinking about retirement.
Yeah.
It's like, okay to not want or feel like you do not have to do this. As Meredith Kessler always says, you get to.
Yeah.
It's not a have to, it is a get to. Yeah. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Like you're the boss of yourself. And so I think that was like the best and like clearest. I've never, like, people talk about aha moments, like that was like destiny smacking me in the face. And then I had like 2 months of like, actually not even that long. It was like a week later, I was organizing my first pantry.
Jeez.
It was so fast. Like Jared was like, you were depressed for like 2 days, and then like you had a plan. It was like, wow, just crazy how quickly I pivoted. Yeah, because October 13th, I had my license to do business, and that took 2 weeks to process, and that was late September was Augusta. So
you're amazing.
It was,
amazing.
It was nuts.
That is crazy, but so important to trust your gut. I love that. You're amazing. Oh gosh, I don't want to end this conversation, but we've been going for quite some time.
Sorry.
Oh no. Because I've actually got, I don't write a whole lot of notes, but there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on, but I don't feel like it would do it justice. Just wrapping up. Oh, do you know what? Have you got 5 more minutes?
I have got all the time. I've got another hour and 20 minutes, so I'm good. I'm loving this.
Me too. I really am. But and this is my favorite thing, is just going on tangents and seeing where it goes and just finding out about people. And one of the things, because obviously we spent a bit of time talking about your mum and your dad a little bit as well at the start.
Yep.
And just listening, finding out a little bit more about who you are and what makes you tick. I'm really interested to know what, from who are you most like? Like, what do you get from your mum and from your dad? And because it sounds,
that's a great question.
It just, to me, it sounds like you're close.
Yeah. My dad was the one that he sort of hated I was a girl. Like, I had 3 brothers.
My dad too.
Yeah. And so he just never treated me like a girl, and like the way you stereotypically would treat a girl. Like, and anytime I did anything girly, he like made me feel really embarrassed for it. Like, it was like,
wow.
Oh, is that makeup? That looks stupid. Like, that was my dad. He had like a bit of a sharp tongue. Like, he was just, our connection was sport. And so actually in his dementia, that was like one of the hard things when I retired. It was like that part of our connection was really severed. And so I just go with it now. Like, a lot of times I'm still an athlete with him, because it's like kind of hard for him to wrap his head around that I'm not an athlete. And, so depending on the day, I'm still an athlete. Sometimes I'm Alicia the organizer. Sometimes I'm Alicia still racing. So I just want him to feel good.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, I get that totally from him. Like, the athlete side, he drove me to like early morning practices. He drove me to like track sessions at like 5:30 p.m. in Toronto rush hour traffic. Like, he was my taxi.
Yeah.
He brought me everywhere. My mom was the one that made me very detail oriented, very respectful to like coaches. She's the one that made me coachable, like, because I was so like parentable. Like, I was like a dream kid.
Right.
Like, I loved rules. I didn't really step out of bounds until I was like 16 or 17, and I like hit the classic like rebellious stage. But she was the one, I think, that really, like, why coaches always said I was so coachable. I just never asked questions. I really respected authority.
Right.
And I think that, you know, obviously there had to be some type of genetic, you know, like, help there. So I don't know who I got that from. My mom grew up crazy poor, so she didn't do structured sport. My dad says he ran, but like, I don't think very fast. So I don't know where the athlete side of it came from. So, but I think it was like their personalities that like just really helped me. I think my dad's willingness to sacrifice a lot to take me drive everywhere, and my mom teaching me a whole lot of discipline. Like, she like, for example, when I wanted to swim and like we were running out of money, I remember she said, okay, if you're going to swim, this is how much each swim practice costs.
Yeah.
If you sleep in, if you like, you know, if you skip something, like, you paying me that back.
Wow.
Like, it was high accountability from a very young age.
Wow.
And so it was sometimes intense, like, for sure. But, you know, I know it was done with love. And also just lack of experience with sport. Like, you know, she didn't know what to do with me. But I think the discipline, the structure, I get all from my mom, and my dad was the one that opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of kids don't get. Like, not all parents will drive hours a day to take their kids to workouts.
Yeah. So. And from the sounds of things, growing up poor as well, you don't necessarily have that luxury of just being able to rock up to any training session, and I imagine if you're coming from a poorer background, work, like, all that time needs to be spent working to earn a living, right? So you don't have the time to be dropping off and doing all that. And exactly.
I was like, I would never say like we were personally like poor, because I've seen poor, like, I know, like, even my mom, they were poor, like, they were hungry, they didn't always have like outfits and things like that. But, you know, for us, it was like having 4 kids and you know, very working class. And so that was like one of the things that I struggled with. And if any parents are listening, you know, one of the things that I think is important when raising a kid that's really talented in sport is I became acutely aware of the financial investment that was being made in me, and felt that pressure tremendously, because I worried, are the other kids in the house like not getting to do things because I'm getting this opportunity? Like, it was something I think that parents just have to be cognizant of, and not that you shouldn't, ensure that your kids understand the investment, but I think it got like driven home hard with me, like how much money was being spent. And not that I was like frivolous with money, but I just remember feeling like pressure. Like if I didn't do like the race well, if I didn't like make an Olympic team, like I was thinking about the Olympics in 2004 and stuff like that. And even though I should have been thinking about like high school, I almost dropped out of high school. Like it was just like, it was like sport or nothing. Like, and so, yeah, I think just figuring out a way that kids can just do sport for fun. There's no need to do it so seriously, especially triathlon.
Oh God.
Wait, you have all the time in the world.
Yeah. Oh goodness. And where do you sit in the lineup of your brothers?
3. I'm the third. I have a little brother, but 2 older brothers.
Right. And what's that dynamic like? What are they like in comparison to you?
So I was the only one that took sport like to the next level. My oldest brother, Colin, he was definitely like more of that team sport athlete. Like he was an amazing hockey player, amazing soccer player, amazing rugby player. But he did do triathlons for a little bit when he was younger. My older brother, Nathan, grew up swimming. So I spent a lot of time with Nathan. Yeah. He was a backstroker and probably stuck with sport the longest, second to me in the family. Like he really wanted to swim after high school and things like that, but it just didn't work out to do it on the level that he wanted to do it at. And then my little brother, John, it's something that I've always struggled with is that like I feel like I stole a lot of the attention from him. So in like his ability to like pursue as a sport, like was really just overshadowed by the attention that I got. And it was not attention that I liked. This was like the hard thing. I just felt like he got kind of cast to the side because I was excelling at a very young age and getting a lot of attention. Like I got signed by Adidas when I was 15, just like, yeah, like stuff like that was happening that like, it was hard for him to like want to continue to do sport when I was doing what I was doing because he just didn't get the attention from coaches that he deserved or even the attention in our house that he deserved. So he ended up, he got into like paintball and like kind of some like obscure sports that was like had nothing to do with what I did. Yeah. But to give you an idea of the amount of attention I got in my house, I never once slept at my childhood home that I lived in for 17 years without my parents there. Wow. So like never ever slept in the house I grew up in alone, ever. But like my brothers could have parties and stuff and I was so jealous because they were always with me. Yeah. So we'd be off at a race and stuff like that and they'd like, man, I just wish that like I could do that. Yeah. Little did we know we wanted to be in each other's roles. But yeah, so I always like, it's something I've always struggled with. I have great relationships with my brothers now, but it definitely like made for a strained family environment, for sure, with all the attention that I got.
Did you recognize that at the time or did it take you a while to recognize it?
I recognized it, but I also felt like I deserved it because I felt like I was going through hell. Right. Like I was training like from the time like grade 6 hit, so you're what, like 11? And I was waking up at like 4:15 doing a workout, like doing swim practice, then like going to either like a track practice after school and then doing a second swim. Like I was training over 30 hours a week. I had all the pressure of racing. I had like all of that. So like to me, like it was like I knew I got all the attention, but like it wasn't like I got cool new stuff. It was like I got stuff for triathlon. Yeah. Like it was very specific to my sport. So like I felt like there were times that like I got the attention, but it was warranted. But then other times I was like, oh my God, I just want to be a kid. Like I want to go to a movie. I want to like go hang out with my friends. Like why did I have to quit soccer? Like just all these sort of like things that, coaches I think are so good at making parents feel like their kid's the next, big thing. And they really can brainwash parents. Yeah. And I think just my parents just bought it hook, line, and sinker. Wow. And you know, when I didn't make the Olympics, felt like a tremendous disappointment. But thank God my husband did. Like, it was literally like the best thing that ever happened to my relationship with my parents was Jared making the Olympics.
Really?
Best thing. Because it was like he satisfied the goal. You know,
God.
like it was like he checked the box.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I'm not at all like making my like childhood out to be like they were bad parents.
No.
Not remotely. My parents like did the best they could, and I think which is what only any parent we can ask of a parent. It was just I'm sharing this because it's my mom's not here anymore to yell at me.
You're talking behind her back.
Exactly. She was so private, so now I get to like just say it like it is. And my dad, like, you know, he's so far down to the dementia lane that it's like he can't get mad at me either. But he's so transparent, my dad. Like he wouldn't have cared. But it's more just wanting parents to recognize like what they're doing with that they might not realize what they're doing, and how it can kind of affect family dynamics and siblings in particular, because I think parents feel like they have to give their kids everything to be successful, and it's okay to not get them the $5,000 bike. It's okay for them to not have, you know, like the fancy bike shoes or a power meter. If I have one more parent come up to me and ask about like their 10-year-old needing a power meter, like they don't need a power meter. You know, it's like it's going to be okay. You don't have to give your kids all the things, all the resources. And you certainly don't have to like do it at the expense of your mortgage or your home or your family environment. Like, it's okay for them not to have every single thing that they need, because the reality is that it's going to work itself out. It's just going to. The opportunities that they need to succeed in the sport will present itself if they're truly as talented as this coach is telling you they are. You know, so it's like, that's what I wish I could go back and tell my parents is like, she's good, but she's not going to get good until she's in her late 20s. So like,
calm down,
chill out.
Oh God, you're good.
So
I'm just sitting here thinking, because also Frankie's just woken up, but I'm like, yeah, when people ask what I want for Frankie, I'm like, I want to give her everything I can. And it's not in a sense of I want to give her, you know, stuff. I want to give her opportunities but like, it's this parental thing. You just want the best for your kid. And sometimes I guess, like you say, you just need to step back a little bit and know that it will work out. And it's not always about giving everything. It's, I don't know, I guess maybe allowing them to find their own sort of pathways or whatever. She's 2.5. So, you know, we got a little bit of time.
You got time.
Yeah. But even down to the money thing, I'm in the middle of doing this financial course thing because I need to learn to be better with, and much like we talked about before, we need to look at what's going to happen in the future. But even some of those little lessons start now. Like if I go get a coffee and she gets they call it a baby chino, I give her my card and she pays for it. And I'm like, what lesson is that teaching her that she's just like, oh, magic card, boop, cool, stuff arrives. And I'm like,
this thing's amazing.
Yeah. And it's mum.
Everyone needs one of these.
You know what? But anyway, it just makes me think. And obviously I don't need to overthink things too much because she's a toddler. But there's, it's interesting. Mate, this has been an epic discussion. I'm so sorry. And hopefully we still have people
you
listening.
have like legit nothing to apologize for. Like, I'm genuinely loving this. Like,
oh, me too.
Even though I said like my mom's not here to like lambaste me over like talking about our childhood. My mom was so wildly private. Like almost I wasn't allowed to share that my mom was dying on social media. Like,
oh wow.
I wasn't even allowed to say she was sick. You know, even when she passed, it was like, people were like, wait, what? Your mom was sick? Like, she was so intensely private that I've never been able to talk about my childhood, or never been able to talk about like how I honestly feel like our upbringing was pretty imbalanced, that I felt like my little brother didn't get the attention he deserved. Like, those were things that this is the first time I've ever even talked about them, because I was always so worried that she would hear it and feel so violated.
Right.
But now she's not here to hear it, and it could be a truth. And I always said to her, like, it could be a truth that another parent might hear, and it could be the thing that they need to hear. They might be like, whoa, I've got a little Alicia, like someone just like her who's super driven, very talented, coaches that are telling me she's going to be A, B, and C, and she's 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and before you drop thousands and thousands of dollars on her training and this and that, like, how about you sign her up for a new sport she's never played before?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or like a different experience. Like there are so few sports that require intense commitment at the age of 12, 13, 14, you know, where your kid's sleeping 6 hours a night. Like, there are a lot of different ways for your child to find success, and even in sport. But there's a lot of ways for your child to find success outside of sport too. Yeah. And just recognizing that it doesn't have to be the be all and end all. And it's just, I think my parents unfortunately just had that like single mindset, and I think they got it because they got so invested financially too. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's hard when money is tight to not see your kid as an investment. Yeah. At some point. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think that's human. It doesn't mean they're bad parents. I just think and it doesn't mean we made mistakes. It just means that someone else could, if we were to do it again, we might do it a little differently. Yeah. And if we can, in sharing that experience, another parent does it differently, that's wonderful. So
look at you, just giving back again. Like, that's, but that's how we started this thing. And we were talking about, like, this is what I enjoy doing and giving. Yep. And so...
Yeah,
thank you.
100%.
Thank you. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat and could sit here for another hour, but her decibels are going up in the background, so everyone's going to start hearing screaming. So I should probably call it a day. Yeah. And I have to take her to the zoo today because I'm taking the day off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm going to go and do that.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much. And I hope, well, you've said it, that you enjoyed it as well. But I hope it has been cathartic and it helps you a 100%. Bit. And, yeah. Yep.
It totally did. It's really the most in-depth conversation I've had about my retirement. And, you know, I think it's really, really challenging time for a lot of athletes. And I think we can both think of athletes that are struggling to let go. Yep. Of the sport right now, and they're still racing this kind of like half in, half out, and that's a terrible existence to live in. Yeah. And you know, I hope that it, you know, maybe one person listens to this and goes, you know, I am pretty interested in X. Like, it's not triathlon, but it could be my next thing. It could be this next thing that makes me feel super fulfilled. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but there is life beyond triathlon, and the triathlon world is like so small.
Wait, what?
In comparison to small in comparison to the rest of the universe. So it's but it's hard when you're in it. Totally. It's like a very incestuous little sport, to be honest. Like, if I'm being totally transparent, like we all marry each other. Like, really.
I married a triathlete.
And so did I. Like, name a professional triathlete that's not also married to a professional triathlete. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. It's a very, very tight-knit sport, so I think it can feel very hard to exit it. Yeah. And then that's hard on marriages. Shit, that's a conversation for another day.
God, I do feel like we need to have a whole other podcast. There's so many other things. I want to unpack with you, but... crying child.
Yes.
Hungry,
focus
crying
on that.
Child.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And I keep looking at the shelves behind you thinking, are they pretty well organised? Yeah, they're pretty well organised.
Pretty well. Yeah. Yep. Mum's teacups.
Oh, that's so nice.
Cookbook from Hella.
Excellent.
Map of our town. Homemade kombucha.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And I've got a coffee. And
I like your setup.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Camera. Yeah, but you don't see what's... Here would drive you insane. Oh, actually, no, it would probably make you very happy because you would come in and go,
yeah,
ooh,
I'd go like this. Let me in there.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I don't know, in some capacity, I hope to chat to you again really soon. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we don't have to record it.
Yes. Let's just catch up. Connect.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
All right, mate. Thank you.